This is Defenders TV Podcast, episode 36, about Jessica Jones, episode 6, aka You're a Winner. Welcome back, Defenders, to episode 36 of Defenders TV Podcast. We're still covering Jessica Jones Season 1. This is episode 6, aka You're a Winner. I'm Derek, I'm one of your hosts.
I'm Chris.
And I'm John, one of your other hosts.
Welcome, I'm not a host, apparently. I keep forgetting. I should say that, but I actually am a host as well. Co-host? Medium host?
Co-hosts. We're all co-hosts.
Mid-host. Mid-guard?
Yeah.
I'm
Medium well done.
Yeah. Just a bit of blood.
Yeah. Well, welcome back, Chris.
Thank you
Good
very
to have
much.
you.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, I was watching Jessica Jones from a remote location,
yes,
which had very bad Wi-Fi, so I wasn't able to film.
But welcome back. Obviously, we missed you on episode 35 of the podcast about episode 5 of Jessica Jones, aka The Sandwich Saved Me, my favourite named episode so far. And in fact,
Hoagies.
Yeah, and in fact, my favourite episode of the season so far. Do you have any thoughts on episode 5?
Yeah, we've talked about this a lot. Okay, how Netflix is a movie. It's a 13-hour movie. We were 5 hours in. I was expecting a bit more of a lull, but I didn't get it, and I was really happy with that. So we got the origin story per se.
Absolutely.
I was so happy with the jewel costume.
That was great.
That just made me like, yes. It's like, although we need a flashback with her wearing it at some point.
Yeah.
Just as a joke, just as something. It just.
I'm still not sure, since she called Jewel a stripper girl's name and said the costume would show off some bits of her body that she wouldn't want to put on show.
The camel toe.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm pretty doubtful Jessica's going to put that on at any stage.
A slutty hooker.
Yes. Might see Trish wearing it at some stage, though.
No, Hellcat, stop. So we talked about this many times before. The sandwich actual saved me part of the entitled episode was brilliant.
It's hilarious.
And
scary.
Yeah, but also I was expecting, I can't remember the film. I've been racking my brain trying to think of a similar film, TV show, where it was a hand on a bus and he saves, a gentleman saves a kid. I'm thinking Superman or something. It's an indented hand.
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to think of what that might be, actually. Is that Superman?
It could be,
Is it Superman 1, the Christopher Reeve Superman? I think.
Could be. I can't remember. Listeners,
answers on a postcard. Email us at feedback@defenderstvpodcast.com. No need to waste the stamp.
Yeah.
You can get us at that feedback.
But no, it was absolutely fantastic. I love the origin, the background, showing Jessica that she had some detective skills in the office when she was really bored. I want to build a rubber band ball that big someday in my life. That was amazing.
That looks like she had nothing to do in the office for weeks beforehand.
But it was great. It was good. And then the showing off. Obviously, I heard the word shred, 30-day shred, and I immediately thought of my co-host. And I was like, oh, he could be Jessica Jones.
John would love this.
It's day 10 of the 30-day shred. I'm destroyed.
I think we talked a lot about the 30-day shred. We were looking to see if Gillian Michaels might actually sponsor our show, I think, after last week, because we talked about it a lot. But anyway, listeners, I think we can get on with this episode of the podcast.
Yep.
If you want to subscribe to the podcast, make sure you go to defenderstvpodcast.com/iTunes to subscribe to us on iTunes, or you can get us on any other good podcast catcher, any Android podcast catcher like Beyond Pod, Podcast Addicts. You can also get us in Stitcher. Just search Defenders TV Podcast and you'll find us pop up in there. And as we record episodes and release them every Tuesday, you'll get all of our coverage for Jessica Jones. We'll start out this episode, as usual, with John's synopsis for aka You're a Winner. This episode was written by Edward Ricourt, who wrote the film Now You See Me. This episode is also directed by Stephen Surjik, who directed episode 5, as we just talked about, and he also directed episodes of Daredevil. So a good member of the Marvel Netflix team there, and Stephen. John, do you want to give us the synopsis for this episode?
Sure. Luke Cage hires Jessica to help track down an acquaintance who has seemingly disappeared. As they both work together on the investigation, they reconnect and things start to get all sweet Christmassy. Elsewhere in New York, an easy poker win for Kilgrave leads to an intriguing property search in suburbia as he strikes a deal to buy a house for a very special renovation. However, just as Luke and Jessica's relationship begins to take shape, developments in the case throw up Luke's real motives to find the missing person. As Jessica fears, he'll learn too much about his wife's death. As events unfold, a bitter truth is forced to the surface about their shared history.
Cool, thanks for that, John. If this is your first time listening to our podcast, the way we cover our episodes would be to take 5 points about the episode, talk through them, and hopefully cover off everything within the episode of Jessica Jones. Chris, since you weren't here last week, do you want to kick off with your first point?
Sure. I'm going to go Easter eggy. As our listeners know, I love them. The first one is the name Angela Del Toro.
Oh, yes.
It was so obviously put in there.
Mm-hmm.
It was so blatantly said that I had to do a bit of research. I was like, that's someone, that's definitely. So this is the character that when Jessica reminds Luke, when Luke comes in asking for PI help, she goes, speak to Angela Del Toro. She's a really good detective, etc.
Definitely jumped out to me, yeah.
So it's a bit of digging. Turns out Angela Del Toro is White Tiger in the universe.
Very interesting.
Now, she's not the only person to carry the moniker White Tiger. That's why it takes a bit of time when you kind of have to dig. She's one of the newer incarnations.
Right. So it's page 2 of Google.
Yes, page 2 when you kind of get down there. But the bit I loved is that this is actually a connection to Iron Fist.
Oh, right. Very interesting.
Yeah, it completely went over my head. I was like, really? There was okay.
So the White Tiger gets basically they get their enhanced speed, strength, tiger-like powers from a thing called the Jade Amulet, and the Jade Amulet comes from the mystical kingdom of Kunlun.
Kunlun,
Yeah.
which we'll definitely see in the future Iron Fist series on Netflix, which is definitely coming, isn't it? This has definitely not been cancelled. There's way too many connections to Iron Fist.
Yeah, way too many.
Way too many.
Like, it's a great connection again. As I say, one that completely flew past me, but definitely like just great interweaving all these Iron Fist elements into these. Obviously the more grounded aspects of this foursome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm starting to wonder though, are they throwing these in as just kind of nice nods to us? Because, okay, then what we've got is Trish possibly going to be a superhero in heroine in the next, say, year, next season 2 maybe. We've got White Tiger, possibly already, and she's already PI, so she's probably operating. You've got Luke Cage already. You've got Jessica Jones already. We've got Rand. We haven't seen Rand Corporation logo or anything yet.
Not yet. No.
Not yet. So there's probably, but he probably is there. So we're not going to get an origin story per se, probably.
No.
So it's probably going to be similar to Jessica Jones, already in there, up and running. So we're starting to go. Remember the whole 99 Friends?
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to think that they're literally going, okay, we're going to give you as many as possible, but let's not go overboard because I don't know. I thought it was a nice kind of nod, but I think that's it. I think it's a nod.
Okay, all right. We may not see Angela. You're probably right, but I do like the idea of setting up these characters that they could possibly use in the future Netflix shows. One of the interesting things I read recently was that Melissa Rosenberg worked very closely in proximity to the people that did Daredevil, but had never seen Daredevil when she was writing Jessica Jones. So I think it's quite interesting that even though these series are on TV at the same time, they're not necessarily watching each other and picking up every single element of the show and bringing them over. They have the continuity guys at Marvel kind of look at that and go, okay, what name will we choose to put into the episodes? Which I thought was quite interesting.
I'd love that job.
Absolutely.
Continuity guy. We'd be like, what do you do? Well, I literally sit around and use my encyclopedic knowledge of useless, obviously not useless.
But you wear a cape.
Yeah, okay.
Continuity guy.
Oh, yeah. Wouldn't be continuity man.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, because you'd have that kind of superhero stance, the very Superman-esque with the kind of hands on the teacup sides, and chest out.
He was eating a cheese butty in that scene, not a ham butty.
I think you mean ham hoagie, John.
Yes.
Thanks for that point, Chris. Really good one to start us out with. My first point is about the card game at the beginning. This, once again, is showing Kilgrave's way of using stuff that we'd probably all do if we had mind control. And basically doing a pretty horrible, heinous act to the people around the table. Not only does he get them to put in all of their money on a terrible bet, But yeah, he wins it with a 2 and a 10. So worst hand of cards. They all give up all of their money. He wins so at $1.2 million off these guys. Pretty rough looking guys. But yeah, I like how it's played out. I like that the guys are feeling the influence and know that something bad is going on. They're not just standing back and letting him do what he wants to. They're realizing something is wrong here. I wouldn't want to give up 600 grand on cards, essentially, that kind of stuff. And the scene ends out with probably I think one of his worst moments so far, where he tells tells Harvey to put his head through a post and see how long it'll take to get him to kill himself, essentially. Another great moment from Kilgrave, and another really kind of creepy way and use of his powers for me.
Yeah, definitely. This was one of my points actually as well, to an extent. Just the whole opening. Like, I actually really liked, just prior to that, there was Malcolm with his voiceover, and just that conversation that, it wasn't all bad being controlled by Kilgrave. He said there was an element of freedom. There was no fear, no logic. Like, you just do as you're told by Kilgrave. And so there's nothing to worry about, because you're just doing stuff and not having to think about it, which is scary in itself. But I love that. And then it comes to the casino game where, again, it's showing his control. And I love that then, I think you're right. You see the conflict in them in pushing that money across the table, which was pretty good. And but also then that whole win by Kilgrave just sets up this whole creepy sort of subplot of Kilgrave going to suburbia, going to this detached house. And you're kind of going, well, what's going on here? Like, he's used other people's apartments. We saw him with the family in was it the first or second episode?
Episode 2, yeah.
Yeah,
yep.
And then, you see him wanting to buy this totally legit, totally legally, and so on. And that's really intriguing. And it's all set up by this win, this false win, easy win for Kilgrave from the casino table. Yeah, I thought it was a really good, scene. And I loved how it kind of threads through the episodes, that win, and also just how it was set up by sort of the voiceover by Malcolm as well. Yeah,
and I love how Kilgrave essentially says to the guys, you'll be dining out in this story for years, how not only did I take all your money, but I did it with a 2 and a 7, is it? A 2 and a 10? I can't remember which one it was. I should have written it down. But yeah, you'll be dining out in the story for years, kind of thing. It's a really good little setup from Kilgrave.
I'm going to take a tax here.
Oh, go on.
I'm sorry. I didn't enjoy it that much.
Really?
I'm wondering, is this kind of going to come back to be more, we'll have a greater understanding later on in the episode series, where these are probably mobsters of some kind. So that links us to possibly Daredevil.
Right. Interesting.
So we've been wondering, I've been racking my brain how Daredevil or Matt Murdock may come into this. Well, maybe these guys are Hell's Kitchen gangs, blah, blah, blah. I felt it was very forced. It was humorous and it was great. And yes, the Kilgrave telling the gentleman to put his head through the post or keep going until he broke the post. It was kind of the usual sinister Kilgrave. I just thought, well, hold on, what was the underlying current? He needed money. He could have just told them to give him the money. So it just felt slightly disconnected for me. Yes, a great scene, well written, quite humorous. Again, with the sinister angle at the end. It was just slightly. I feel like we're going to know more about it later on.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
In that kind of, say, episode 11, this guy who has a busted up face comes in, and it's like Daredevil's fighting him, and then he's actually trying to kill Kilgrave because he stole all his money.
Right. Interesting.
Something like that. I just felt it was very too much of a. Also, wasn't this one of this scene? Wasn't it a?
There was a trailer that used it, yeah. There was a teaser that used it, but I think they only used the first element of it where he says, and now you want to go all in, and that's where it cut. So I think the big reveal here essentially of the fact that Harvey, the character that he makes put his head through the post, the big reveal of the fact that Harvey can be controlled and can be told to give the money, but will still realize, hey, there's still something wrong here.
Okay.
I think it's what probably made the difference to me in this scene. One other thing that I want to say about the scene, a lot of our friends in our Facebook group over at Defenders TV podcast on Facebook, a lot of them have commented on the fact that David Tennant uses his Doctor Who voice quite a lot in this show. if any time so far that this guy could have walked out of the TARDIS and sat down at a card table and started talking to these guys, it really felt like Doctor Who. Just his turn of phrase, the way he was talking to them. So it was a really creepy thing for Doctor Who to start robbing money off these gangsters. Essentially, for me, I just thought one of the other elements that I really liked about
I
the
think
scene.
he could be. He could be. It's the psychic paper theory. This is the fan theory. Doctor Who is actually evil, and he's in the Marvel universe.
I like that.
Or he's the Master.
Yeah, I like.
For all we knew, actually, the Master is Doctor Who, and Doctor Who is the Master.
See. But that's another podcast.
Yes.
John, do you want to kick us on to your next point?
Yeah, no, my next point is another big thing from this episode, which is that Hope was attacked in the previous episode 5, punched repeatedly in the stomach by I think it's Sissy Garcia.
That's it.
And she's pregnant. And it's all linking back to Kilgrave. And this is like a really powerful aspect being brought into Jessica Jones here. She's been raped, I think, really, from what she's saying. It's all about consent, abuse, and choice of women to choose about whether to have an abortion or not. And she's there essentially paying Sissy Garcia to give her a, off the street kind of abortion by repeatedly punching her in the stomach.
Right.
Now, it doesn't work in this case. But Hope has this really great line to Jessica Jones while she's in hospital, where she says, I want to live and I want to have children, but I won't give life to this thing. I won't do it. Mm-hmm. It's the idea that if it kills her, she's fine with that because she does not want to give birth to this baby, this fetus inside her that is there because she was raped by Kilgrave. So this is a properly deep kind of element to this episode. And I thought it was really well done. It obviously gave us an explanation as to why that was going on. We kind of thought, well, has Kilgrave gotten to this Sissy Garcia? Is it just a prison beating? And actually you find out that Hope paid Sissy to do this from the money given to her by Jessica. And spun out of all of this, then we have a really, really intriguing aspect to the story with Jaren Hogarth, who asks for the fetus, the dead fetus, after she's gone to hospital, she's given the pill in order to have a miscarriage, and that then Jaren Hogarth looks to have the dead fetus.
Yeah, no, that was actually one of my points in terms of Jerry building or taking this, and I'm kind of now wondering, we're seeing the complete downfall of Jerry, but is perhaps this versioning of Jerry actually bad? Is she an evil, a villain?
Well, at the moment,
yes.
She seems pretty heartless.
Absolutely.
Because I'm like, is she... We still have to get these other super soldier serums out there, blah, blah, blah. Is she a lawyer in Hydra and actually trying to get, now that they know Kilgrave is real and he can show people, I want that power, get me the fetus? I was like...
Yeah, this was properly dark from her again. I mean, she's been heartless towards her ex. She's been manipulative. She's just been so cold. You're kind of thinking, how far along this kind of dark path does she have to go before maybe, she sees how bad she's become, or, what's it going to take for her to sort of step back from that brink? Because at the moment she's looking pretty evil.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is kind of one of the interesting things about Jessica Jones is that, you have these good people, like you see there's Reuben, there's Malcolm, that maybe are troubled or slightly off kilter, but they're good people. But she has no qualms with associating herself with, quite frankly, dubious human beings. It's not that maybe she's evil or even Hydra, but she's just quite self-centered. Yeah. And she's a lawyer. So apologies to any lawyers out there, but maybe she's gotten to that point where she's able to win cases so often that she's able to use the law and be really successful that she does feel like a god in herself.
Yeah,
and
possibly.
that she now is just so self-centered and so all-consuming with her personality, her job, and all this. But she's properly cold. And I mean, yeah, asking the nurse then to retain this fetus, it's like, what is going on here? This is like a new kind of string to the bow that, that I can't wait to see and find out what happens here.
I just want to actually put out serious props, and when we're tweeting this episode out later, we're going to tag in Melissa Rosenberg for this. This would have been a really easy piece to fluff over.
Yeah.
Like, this is like, she could have been mentioned in the background, could have been mentioned over a report, blah, blah, blah. We all thought Jessica Jones, we had questions going in how dark this would be, being based on Alias and Pulse, and how much of the storylines were kind of, because this is not your typical Spider-Man swinging through, kind of being sassy.
No. Sassy Spider-Man.
Yeah, the amazingly sassy Spider-Man. That's brilliant. I'm copywriting that.
It has to be the spectacular sassy Spider-Man, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. No, I really wanted to call out Melissa Rosenberg for this, because this, obviously, even in the daily newspapers, I'm not talking about in this universe, I'm talking real life, this is a hardcore kind of topic. Absolutely. And it is. You've got pro-lifers versus pro-choicers, you've got the rape element versus the consent element. Mm-hmm. You've got the use of non-typical abortion techniques as it's just a beating. Showing the element of hope, going, I still want that was the line that got me. And
same here.
Yeah, definitely. I was like, wow, I still want kids, I still want a family, I still want to get over this. I do not want this thing. I think she says thing.
Yeah, she does, definitely.
And that was like,
I know.
I was like, that's hardcore. You could have easily fluffed it over. And I'm pretty sure, I haven't looked into it. I don't know, is there topics around this at all? But I think if not, there should be. This is something that should be in TV shows. It is bringing out the darker side.
This is hugely significant that a superhero show is bringing in these topics. As you say, pro-life versus pro-choice, rape versus consent, physical violence versus sort of the mental legacy of that physical violence and that mental violence ultimately.
Yeah.
All of those things, and all being tied around essentially a superhero show. And it's massive props that they are doing this, I think. I think we even mentioned this with regards to Agent Carter, where it's showing, a woman hero in a time when women weren't treated as equally within the society within 1940s, and were considered to be housewives or secretaries or typists or whatever it is. I think Marvel are doing really well with this stuff, and I think it's absolutely great to see, and a lot better than some other shows. And I think it really does open up these characters, and in particular, what's the point in having street level heroes like Jessica Jones, Daredevil, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist, and the Defenders, that aren't subject to these tragic events that happen on the street.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like, irrespective of all the other more fantastical elements of
the
it.
incidents.
Like her being able to jump and fly, and her super strength, and the unbreakable skin, and the Daredevil, ability to see without sight. Like, all these kind of things, it's really great. And I must say, and that's something I pulled from this episode.
Yeah.
I'll put a question out though, and I don't actually have an answer for this. If there was a male showrunner, would this have been there? Would this have had the emphasis, the spotlight it had?
Yeah.
In such that the spotlight it had was it was played very well, it was written very well, it was directed very well. I don't know.
Well, the interesting part about it is this is one of the first episodes of the show so far that is written by a male writer. Melissa Rosenberg is the overall showrunner for the show, but it is Edward Ricourt that wrote this episode. So he's taken the concept. He's obviously, I know they have a writer's room again for Jessica Jones, just like they did for Daredevil, where there are 6 or 7 writers that take on the stories and break the episode up. So this potentially came from a different writer. I don't necessarily think you have to be a woman to write this story. Hey, we're 3 guys and we can understand the story. Definitely. It's not like it's totally foreign to us. But I think you're right, having a female showrunner that is willing to concentrate on the things that we may not, as blokes, generally concentrate on. If you want to tell this story, you may just skip past it completely. There's a really good moment here with Hope as well, where she essentially is told by Jessica, you could see the doctor in here. It's only going to be a couple of months. And she says, I can't wait 2 months because this thing is inside me right now. For every 20 minutes, it feels like I'm being raped again. Every 20 minutes, it feels like my parents are being shot again. That's what this feeling of being raped and being pregnant with the person who had control over me is like. That's a huge moment. And it's given the breadth of discussion that is required for it. It's not just, oh yeah, she wants to have an abortion. There is a consideration there within her, and it is talking about very big topics, as you said, John.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think on that point that you mentioned there, Chris, I think like we've had it recently there with Quentin Tarantino, and that slight controversy about whether he can write about sort of black characters and racial or racist elements within I think it's the Hateful Eight.
Yeah.
And even with Django, whether he as a white director, a white writer can write about slavery or, African American issues and so on. And I think ultimately, it's that, yes, people can. Like, a writer does research things as well, or they should do if they want to get an accuracy to their writings. Sometimes it's not to say that, you can have a more personal element coming at it, possibly, if you are a woman or if you are African American or so on, or if you're a man. But again, I think you reverse that question and say, you see what, Steve McQueen brought. He's a black British director. He did 12 Years a Slave, but he's not an African American. So he's not got that context, which maybe you have to be African American to talk about the African American slavery issue. But at the same time, he also did a great film with Michael Fassbender called Hunger, all about sort of the hunger strikes in the Northern Ireland prisons during the Troubles, during the 70s. He's not from Belfast, he's not Irish, but he's not white. He was able to write and direct about that in a really forceful and meaningful way. And I think you have to allow that to be a possibility. You can't say that all these things have to be exclusive to the people who've experienced them. Otherwise you get no new perspective, whether right or wrong. So that's, I would say that's my long version. That's my long answer to your question. But it's that, yes, I think they can.
No, and I think, sorry, I slightly came across wrong. I think that they probably would have done this, but my props go out to Rosenberg in that she probably highlighted this, whereas potentially another showrunner would have possibly kind of fluffed over or skimmed over it a bit more. This was given a bit more prominence. Yeah. And I think that's the difference. Would I have kind of given it the area? I don't know. She challenged us. So I'm not saying be a male versus female. I'm just saying potentially, because she is female, potentially she has given this arc, this small story, a bit more time in the spotlight than potentially a different showrunner would have given. Melissa gave us this amazingly emotional, very tough element. Again, our tough point in the every episode so far. But would Stephen DeKnight, would he have given it the same time in the spotlight if he was directing Jessica Jones? And that's just, would a different director? Is it a directorial thing? Is it a male versus female thing? I don't have the answers, and I'm not seeking to put a question down. I'm just very glad that they did this.
I totally agree, and again, and I know your point is definitely not there's any criticism of Stephen tonight because he was a great showrunner for Daredevil. You're right, though. It is very possible that this show is dramatically different because we have someone like Melissa Rosenberg at the forefront of the show, that there's different decisions that she would make. She's the right person for the show, I will say. The things that we're getting so far by episode 6 of this show are far more than I thought we would get explored in a Marvel TV show. I love that there is this kind of, as you said, a focus on this part of the show. I think Hope's experience and what she's gone through when after being saved by the superhero, usually you go off and spend your time back at home with your family and have a happy life. What's happened to her since episode 1 is she shot her parents in the head and now she's in prison, getting herself beaten up so that she doesn't have to carry the child of the guy who raped her. Like, that's a completely different story than I would expect to be on any other Marvel show. And really well handled and really well put together, definitely. Chris, do you want to take us on with your next point?
Okay, it's a segue. A Jones way, if you will.
Okay.
Yes, I got that one in there.
I like that Christopher Jones gets to use Jones ways.
Jones ways.
Jones ways. Yeah, I like it. So, on speaking of this baby, so again, a slightly Easter egg-ish type point. So, in the Marvel Universe, Kilgrave has a daughter.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That was not according, apparently it is, and now I just want to make sure I get the name 100% right.
Is it Hope Kilgrave?
No, it's Kara Kilgrave.
Oh, right.
And she inherited his powers and his skin tone, and she joins the Canadian Avengers, the Alpha Flight.
Very interesting.
But
she got his looks. And
the purple skin tone. I'm wondering, like, how does she pair? How does she pair that with the kind of outfits choice? I don't know. Additionally, there was this other storyline that came up in, I believe it was one of the later issues of Daredevil, where Kilgrave is hunted by his brood of illegitimate children.
Wow.
So very Children of the Damned styled, where they're all purple skin toned children going after and trying to kill Kilgrave.
Wow.
And I was just like, oh, do you think that we may get an illegitimate Kilgrave child mentioned later on?
Possibly, yeah. It's interesting because I didn't actually even come back to your point about Hogarth taking the fetus. We don't know what's going to happen with that. We don't know. Is there a possibility? I don't even want to know how I'd considered it, but is there a possibility of reviving that or cloning the fetus, possibly to get a new child of Kilgrave? Maybe that's what Hogarth's trying to do. But that's a really interesting catch there, Chris. Well done.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, Hogarth is quite clear to the nurse that she says, can you retain the dead fetus? So it is definitely that, there is a miscarriage here and it's a termination ultimately. Yeah. So, it will just be interesting to see what's happening there because, I mean, Hogarth is like proper dark, Darth Vader-y at this stage.
If we don't get an answer to that one, that's going to annoy me.
Yeah,
very much, because it was so blatantly kind of said. It's like, but now in season 2 you find out. I'm like, no.
That's true.
I want by episode 12 to have known everything and go, oh, that and that's it. But yeah,
right, and she does bribe the nurse as well. She's not just asking her; she's definitely bribing the nurse for this.
Wow, I don't think you can ask a nurse. Oh, sorry, you know that dead fetus there? I just want to serve it up with some fava beans.
I suppose. Jeez, that's dark. That is very dark.
Come on, we have a Hannibal-esque dinner-esque podcaster here. I thought you'd enjoy it.
That is true.
I did. That's why I'm laughing.
I think I meant more of the fact that she's bribing the nurse is highlighting the fact that this is something illegal. It's not that she's taking it home to bury it. It's that she's taking it for a nefarious purpose. I think that's what I mean more, that she's bribing her because of that purpose. Yeah. That's all. But interesting.
Definitely. So, Derek, what's your third point?
My third point is just that Jessica's still taking photographs for Kilgrave. I thought that was quite interesting. She didn't just lie to him and say, sure, just leave my friend Malcolm alone. She's now got a timer set. She's got her alarm going off, telling her exactly what time she has to take the photograph for Kilgrave every single day. This proves to me again that Jessica is absolutely terrified of Kilgrave and what he could possibly do to her friends if she doesn't live up to what she's promised to Kilgrave. He's still getting his own way. He's still mind controlling her, for want of a better word, without actually using his powers. So again, a nice little touch in their relationship, I thought.
And to note, there's some nice photos.
They're nice
She
photos,
takes
aren't they?
on the run. She's taking some pretty good photos. It's just like twist the hair, flick, just like the eyeshadow.
But still no smile, right?
No smile.
She also forgets to take a picture because she's been having sweet Christmassy nothings in the bedroom with Luke.
Mm-hmm.
And Kilgrave is not too impressed as well.
Yeah,
and you wonder if she does like repeatedly keep missing them, will he go back after Malcolm?
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, absolutely. That's the scene where he's in the coffee shop where he gets the text in from her, essentially, and has just silenced everybody in the coffee shop from talking too loudly. Which I just think, again, how does he get through his days? He just determines everything that goes along around him. There's a great moment in the comics, which I don't ever talk about on here because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. But there's a great moment. I know. There's a great moment in the Alias comic where Kilgrave's walking down the street and just realizes, I'm a bit bored now. Everybody around me kill each other. And it's just a mass brawl as everybody slaughters each other around him and Jessica walking side by side down the street. These are the kind of powers that Kilgrave's starting to use in these episodes. It's not just a one-on-one telling somebody, just throw a cup of coffee in your face now. He's starting to silence an entire room of people just to keep his head clear, I'd be fascinated if they use that in one of the episodes in the future. I'd be looking forward to that one. But there you go. That's my little comic insight for this one. John, what's your next point?
My next point is actually just Jessica and Luke kind of back together again. Mm-hmm. But I loved the dynamic of it, that, he's coming back, and he's prepared to pay her to hire her for an investigation to track down Antoine, mm-hmm. who's missing, presumably taken by this loan shark that he owes money to. But I love just all the build up, that, they get it back together again, which is fantastic.
Absolutely.
But I love just that slow, increase in tension during all of these scenes. Firstly, just after they've had sex, where, you can see she's umming and ahhing about whether to tell him. That's how I kind of looked at it. Yeah. And then obviously, the round at the lady's house where she gives the information, about the bus crash and the bus driver who was, driving that bus that night, on that fateful night. And you can see that she's almost wanting to tell him all the way through this episode that, she has to, in order to really move their relationship on so that she can be fully open. And then ultimately it's with the big build and reveal at the end where she has no other choice but to tell him, otherwise he's going to kill an innocent man. And I mean, Mike Coulter, I really, until this series, I've not seen him in anything. I don't know him from anything. I absolutely loved his reaction. I mean, the hurt, the pain. Like, I love some of the dialogue that he gave. It's exceptional. Like, he says, you let me inside you. You allowed your hands, those same hands that killed my wife, to touch me. Like, he punches the front of the bus, I think. But the hurt, the pain, the anger, the kind of bitterness that's creeping in as he's delivering these lines is really good. And like I think he finally says, he says, you are a piece of shit, or something to that effect, about Jessica. I mean, and it's just that whole ambiguity of like this central character of Jessica Jones, that she will hang around with anyone. She is a heavy drinker. She's got issues. She's got problems. She doesn't always make the right decisions. And like, this is one case where, unfortunately, it's just way too much for him to handle here, and it's really, really good. I just really liked how this all built up to the big reveal at the end.
Absolutely, like there's some really good tender moments between the two of them earlier on in the episode, and I was kind of going, great, we've got our couple back. They're not going to break up this time, are they? We've got them back together. She has that moment in the corridor where she calls herself a piece of shit to begin with, and he says, "You're a hard-drinking, short-fused mess of a woman, but you're not a piece of shit." And I was like, oh, that's lovely. Luke's actually on her side. He gets this. He gets why she's so critical of herself. But no, it turns around right at the end, and he uses that back at her in the end of the episode. But there is another lovely moment as well where she takes a lift home on the motorbike with him. There's just a nice lingering shot from, I'm sure the director of the episode chose the shot, as Jessica's hands don't release from Luke's body. She holds there for a little bit longer than she probably should have, kind of giving him the indication that she's still willing to give the relationship a try, but doesn't want to, because obviously this is a huge reveal to Luke that she's the one that killed his wife, regardless of the control that Kilgrave had over her at the time. She's refused to tell Luke about it. She's been following him. She knew all about who he was before they met, before they slept together for the first time, and she still went through with it all without telling him, when she's not under Kilgrave's control. So understandably, Luke Cage has lost it with Jessica in this episode.
Yeah, it was it was a roller coaster. That's the best way I could put it.
Absolutely.
It was pure roller coaster of emotion in terms of you want them to be together, they're happy, then they're not happy, then she's struggling to say anything, she's not struggling to say anything, she buries it deep inside. And that post-coitus scene where they're kind of lovely embraced with each other, it was great. The ending, they've made this very tough. I do not see and fully understand how Jessica could come back from this.
Mm-hmm.
She killed the woman he loved.
Yeah.
And then lied about it and slapped. Like, I honestly, that's the bit I was like, did they go too far?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like you imagine it to be hugely difficult for Luke Cage to kind of let that one go, and for them to really be able to then come back together and move on. I mean, the only thing I think really that I hold out in regard to that is the fact that also through this episode, he does, he wants to help her get Kilgrave ultimately, and he understands that he was controlling her. So maybe that's his route to forgiveness with her, is that actually she's not in control.
Maybe, but it felt like it wasn't enough.
No, it wasn't. Not then, immediately, but maybe with time to think that could be the seed of where his forgiveness could come from. But I do know what you mean.
Yeah. And what was in the box again?
A flash drive with possibly some information that Kilgrave wanted. We don't know what that information was. By the end of the episode, it was there's something that was in the box that Reva...
so could Reva have been bad then, without knowing it? So we know we can, okay, because I am struggling to see how they end up the happy married couple of the Marvel MCU and with a baby.
Yeah.
Don't know. Just don't know yet.
I know, it's interesting, isn't it? And I think it feels like they have pushed the two of them very specifically apart here. There's nothing I can see that Jessica could do to get back. But what we did see, and that was my next point, what we did see was actually the fight between Jessica and Luke. So Luke's not holding back because he wants to get to the bus driver who he thinks has killed his wife. Jessica's not holding back because she wants to stop him. And this does actually prove our question from the first time they fought. Luke is actually stronger than Jessica. He pushes her back a good couple of inches on her heels. So it does prove that Luke is stronger, only by a little bit though, I think.
It's a close call on the strength front.
Yeah.
Like unless he's got unbreakable nuts, a short jab from Jessica to the midriff could have disabled him.
Possibly. And at the end of the fight, Luke does ask the question of her if it wasn't for this driver, if it wasn't for her finding out about the driver or him finding out about the driver, would Jessica have ever told him the truth at all? So again, echoing the concept from you guys that has Jessica gone too far and told him something that she can never redeem herself from? She was right to tell him. Was she right to have left it so long? Was she right to have stalked him, slept with him numerous times and still not told him about her killing his wife or not? But the fight was at least a little bit of a change in the episode there.
So, Chris, what's your next point?
Just actually on the Jessica Luke job. Mm-hmm. It was just, it felt very, from having read some of the Heroes for Hire kind of stories, it felt, or Luke Cage kind of Power Man, it felt very like, I'm going to help my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Kind of like, just that was really what it was. It was, sweet Christmas. I'm going to help my neighborhood and I'm going to get it done. And I was just like, they could have done somewhat. It was just like a kid, the actual child or man, young child man thing that they were trying to... Antoine. Yeah. That's him. They were trying to say...
Human.
Yeah.
The human man.
The human man child thing. It just seemed very... It wasn't the best. It was fun. Great piece of information. Luke Cage doesn't hurt dogs.
That's right, yeah.
He does not hurt dogs. Because what sane grown man hurts dogs?
Absolutely.
Or animals or any kind in general. So no, I was very happy with it. Great fight scene. But the actual just kind of like, yeah, he went into hiding so he could grow weed. Mm-hmm. To make money and come back a businessman. I was like,
I liked it. I liked it probably for the reason you didn't, actually, Chris. It does feel really like a Luke Cage episode where Jessica is coming into one of his type of investigations, something slightly different from her PI investigations. He does need her to help him track down this kid, but yeah, it does feel like he's trying to save a kid from the neighborhood, from the local neighborhood thugs, essentially. That's what it felt like. And actually, I was getting kind of shades of the character that takes over as Paraman in some of the fallout from the Shadowlands series. There's another character that takes over from Luke Cage as Paraman. I was getting some kind of shades of that from the Antoine character. He seems quite similar to the guy that takes over from Luke. So that's what it felt like. It felt like there was some kind of connection there that Antoine might actually change everything that he does because of being saved by Luke and Jessica from this.
Yeah, no, it wasn't that. It was just the story in terms of, it was, yeah, it's a Heroes for Hire Luke Cage story. He saves the neighborhood. It was that stupid Antoine. It was like,
I know.
He went off. Yeah, he was just like, it was just like, I actually wanted him to be in peril, not hiding out and growing weed. That's why I was like,
it was good fun to not have someone in peril for once, because
but
it's
peril
like
is always better.
I mean, for me, it was just that particular part of the story just didn't need to be too big. It just needed to be there because otherwise there's so much other stuff going on, like the deeper elements between Luke and Jessica, or what was going on with Hope, that I think anything massive or too maybe just too serious or in depth, it could have just been too much for the episode. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of I think it was probably designed to just not be that a massive thing. I think the biggest twist about it is ultimately that Luke doesn't know these people at all, even though that's the premise that he comes to Jessica with, that it's a friend in need and needs and help, requires help. So yeah, I mean, that was it for me. I mean, I did like the fact that, we have Sweet Christmas again when he sees all the weed, which was really, really cool. So basically sex and drugs elicit Sweet Christmas for Luke Cage. And Just Need Rock and Roll next. And hopefully he'll come out with a Sweet Christmas.
Maybe that'll be the favourite band in his local bar is called Sweet Christmas.
No, that is the band that Luke Cage
sets up.
Danny Rand sets up.
Maybe. That's actually what the Defenders are. They're actually a local band with a song called Sweet Christmas. Maybe.
Christmas #1. But yeah, I love that. And actually just coming back, the bike was very cool. The shades, the Harley Davidson, the helmet, the bike, all of that was proper, like, sex on two wheels. It was really good.
No, I don't think you can have sex on two wheels. I'm not saying I've tried it, but you could try. But I'm pretty sure, like, the balance element. But
it was great though. Like, that to me, that look is kind of, that's America for me.
Right. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
I did like the touch. I know you mentioned the dogs, Chris, but I did like the touch that essentially Luke calls out the fact that he's perfect for dogs who attack because of the unbreakable skin. The teeth can't break through the skin. So he's perfectly happy with taking on some dogs. So that was really a good little touch. John, what's your final point?
Yeah, my final point is, it's just a little bit, actually, again, where Luke and Jessica go to Antoine's apartment to look through his stuff, and Luke Cage is looking through all his paperwork, all this kind of stuff. And I just love the fact that Jessica Jones goes straight to the bathroom and goes, well, he's taken his toothbrush and toothpaste. If he was kidnapped, they're not too hot on like packing him a toiletry bag.
Right.
So yeah, he's up to the left. And I love the fact that she was kind of straight down to this logic, and just, Luke's up there sort of going through all the paperwork, like racking his brains, and she kind of cuts through it all with a simple, he's taken his toothbrush and toothpaste.
Yeah.
He's left. He's not been kidnapped. I thought that was really good. And then
Clearly Luke had been there for hours as well.
exactly, and then just the whole,
Yeah.
so then just the whole gag with the "You're a winner."
Yes,
the
of course.
title of the episode. I just love how Kristen Ritter just goes into that kind of real heady kind of stereotype for delivering the lines. And of course, she gets the call back and it moves the case forward again. It's just shows her nous and her sort of knowledge of doing PI work. I thought it was really good.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love Kristen Ritter in this, in doing these parts, showing other characters what she can do with her voice. As a woman, basically, people don't seem to believe when she puts on this airhead voice. They seem to believe anything that comes out of her mouth. It's almost like another superpower that she has. I love the look on Luke's face as she starts to talk like that, which is just it's just this look of almost kind of disdain. Oh, this can't be her. This is not Jessica.
Yeah.
It was really, really good. But I would have called for an Xbox One. I would have called back.
Yeah,
Definitely. Yeah.
And you guys are PlayStation guys.
I know. I'll take a free Xbox One then.
So Derek, what's your final point?
My final point is about Malcolm starting to get his shit together, really. So it looks like, he's definitely off the drugs now. He's working with Jessica in this episode. He's actually helping her out, trying to use his experiences with Kilgrave to help her track him down at the beginning of the episode. But he's also going to the support group, which we saw in a couple of episodes ago, episode 4, I believe it was, where we had the support group of all the people that had been influenced by Kilgrave. And it seems like Malcolm's getting the help he needs from this group. So he's the one that does the voiceover at the start that you mentioned, John, and he also has the voiceover at the end. And he recommends it to Jessica, saying that it's been hugely helpful for him to go through, to have somebody there to talk to about his experiences, essentially. Really important for him. Obviously, Jessica's response is, I don't want to share this with anybody else because their stories are going to be worse than mine. Which I thought was a nice little bit of her character. A lot of people go to AA, and a lot of the reason why they go to Alcoholics Anonymous or Drug Addicts Anonymous is because other people telling you their stories that are worse than yours helps you deal with your experiences. That's not Jessica. She doesn't want to deal with her experience. She wants to use it in that powerful way to get back at Kilgrave. So she's not willing to give up on that pain that she's gone through, almost. I just thought it was a nice little touch of the episode. That's my final point. Anybody have any notes about the episode that we've missed? Anything we haven't covered?
It was only just to say, I loved Malcolm's sort of increasing involvement in this. And just to come back, he also is trying to protect Jessica with Luke returning back on the scene.
Yeah.
It's like, don't break her heart kind of thing, look after her and so on. But one of the things that he does impart onto Luke is this idea and notion that Kilgrave, controlled and used and abused Jessica Jones. That, and Luke generally seems to agree with Malcolm on this, that she wasn't ultimately fully in control of her actions whilst with Kilgrave. And I'm wondering, hopefully that might be the little nugget that allows Luke and Jessica to reconcile, obviously, those massive differences that they have at the end of this episode.
Hopefully. So with that, Chris, do you defend episode 6 of Jessica Jones, aka You're a Winner?
Okay, we've got rape, we have abortion, we have incredibly hot button topics, we have fun kind of fights, we have adorable dogs, we have Luke Cage, we have Jessica, we have a breakup, we have a break-in, we have a break-out. We have a lot of different elements here. So overall, I felt, yes, this is great TV. It's what I wanted when I signed up for the show. So yes, I defend this episode.
Excellent, excellent. John, do you defend this episode of Jessica Jones?
I do. I do defend this episode of Jessica Jones, aka You're a Winner. I would definitely give this 4.5 winning poker hands out of 5. I just thought the big topics that were addressed in this were huge in terms of the abuse and the rape and abortion aspects, and done in a really sort of meaningful way and a sensitive way, I thought. Really just expose those. And for this genre to be doing that in the same way that Agent Carter, I think, brought to mind equality for women, I thought it was really, really good. I liked that important aspect to parts of this episode, which I think were really important. At the same time, I loved the build up, the awkwardness that you could see slowly developing with Jessica, as she knows that really she has to tell Luke Cage about what she did, but also she's conflicted trying to actually prevent him from finding out as well. So those two aspects really good. I mean, we also then see Hogarth on, again, this sort of downward trajectory of just pure awfulness that she seems to be quite happy to partake in terms of, just being cold and kind of a bit, it's like bloodless almost. She's kind of like this cold vampire she comes across as. So that was really good. And it was also, I think, nice to see Malcolm starting to get better and recover and to really, get to know Jessica and probably remember it as well. So this to me was, again, it was up there with episode 5. I have to say, really good episode. Derek, do you defend this episode of Jessica Jones?
Absolutely, and really for all the reasons you've said. Just for me, obviously the Jessica and Luke elements of this episode are huge. Really enjoyed watching through their relationship get back together, because it seemed like there would be no redemption for them when they broke up in episode 3. I thought they'd never get back together after that. There was enough from Jessica kind of going, all right, I've killed his wife, so I'm not going to be able to continue this relationship. I'll just break it off with him. To see them come back here and you can see they're meant for each other. You can see them working at it throughout the episode. I thought those little touches, like her on the back of the bike, like him telling her you're not a piece of shit kind of stuff, those are all elements that really show that they're meant for each other and that he knows the right things to say to Jessica and that he does genuinely love her. But having it towards the end of the episode where essentially now I can't see how they're ever going to get back together again. To have gone through that full journey with the two characters throughout the episode means it's one of the best written ones we've seen so far. As a journey for those two great characters that I'm really enjoying so far, like it's done really, really well. And I know obviously the Hope moment was shocking to me. I've written down in my notes going, whoa, okay, she's pregnant with Kilgrave's child. How's this one going to play out? Didn't expect it would end off being an abortion storyline. I thought there was actually going to be she'll carry the child full term. It's going to have the powers of Kilgrave. Thought there was going to be something in there about that, but no, to have the abortion conversation surrounding that as well was another fantastic part of this episode. Yeah, absolutely defend it. 100%. Excellent episode. Okay, I think it's time to go on to our feedback for this week. Our first piece of feedback comes in from Dave Horrocks. He says, hi guys, so I happened to catch an episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and they went into a bit of the gifted or enhanced subject. And so turns out they use both terms. I probably wouldn't have noticed it so much if you guys hadn't had the debate about using the different terms. I'll try to get this right. It seems there's this list which S.H.I.E.L.D. keeps calling the index, and this has all the gifted people on it. Agent Simmons suggests that they need to differentiate between people who are subjected to scientific experiments and changed in some way, and therefore they're enhanced, and those who have these powers naturally, they're gifted. Not sure if Jessica and Luke are familiar with the difference, so I think referring to them as gifts or gifted is probably understandable and consistent for the MCU. Keep up the great work, guys. Cheers, Dave.
Thanks, Dave, for that. Yeah, no, that makes sense, actually. Certainly like the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. logic coming in there. But yeah, that would make sense. Gifted for people born with it, but then enhanced for those people that have had it kind of imparted onto them by an accident or an experiment. But yeah, this debate is raging, Chris. What have you done? What have you unleashed?
No, but I just literally... The Daredevils and the Jessica Jones, that doesn't make them enhanced or gifted. See, think about it.
Or
because
mutant,
if they
or-
were if they were subjected to scientific experiments or changed some way, kind of based on those experiments, then they're enhanced.
Yeah.
But if you have a barrel full of chemicals spill over your face, or you're in a car crash as an accident, you are not enhanced or you're not gifted. You're somewhere in between. We need a third one, people.
You're unlucky. Or not, maybe, depending on how good the superhero
powers
trait is.
are,
yeah.
But thanks for that one, Dave. At least you tried to get
Thank you, Dave.
to get this into a proper MCUing of those terms. Thanks very much for that.
Cheers, Dave.
This will continue, I think, for a future episode. We have our second piece of feedback in from another David Wang. He sent us his feedback about episode 3 and 4 of Jessica. So to begin with, on episode 3, he starts with, I guess Luke's little demonstration brings new meaning to the term abs that can cut wood. Like that. Secondly, he says, as to how Luke is supposed to cut his hair, maybe his hair has perpetually stopped growing and he'll always be bald with that goatee. Maybe that's it. Yeah, we did discuss that because of the unbreakable skin. Can the hair grow through the unbreakable skin? So, but yeah, possibly.
Through the baby's bottom.
Sweet Christmas. Seriously, gifted sounds like such a stupid expression for superpowers. Everybody's getting in on this,
Yeah,
guys. Well done. Finally, the modesty sheet trope is getting really old. I wince for obvious reasons that women can't be shown topless. Then why let the sheets cover the dude as well? So this is Jessica's modesty sheet, the L-shaped sheet that seems to go to Luke's waist and up to Jessica's neck.
David, I definitely agree with that, because actually one of the weird things that got me with this episode 6, was, again, they were in bed and she had a t-shirt on, but she had just woken up. No, okay, yeah, you can wear a t-shirt and maybe it's better than a sheet, but I just automatically assumed, oh, that's just to not show her topless, ultimately. But at the moment, I'm kind of quite liking the split between what's topless and what's not.
I'm going to weigh in on this, okay, and we probably won't get to see very much of Jessica's less than modesty sheet, so perhaps just a deep V. How does that sound, Marvel?
Maybe. I did hear Christian Ritter describe the show as actually being somewhere between a PG-13 and a PG-16, depending on how advanced the person is who's watching it is. This show is still in the Marvel universe. I'm very doubtful we're going to see any nudity in the show.
I want R-rated.
It's not going to be R-rated, but I do think some of the concepts that are in there are definitely much more adult than stuff that we've seen before. So I think they're more talking about the content can be as adult rated as possible, but we're probably not going to see the level of that sexuality or that nudity being on the show. So finally, for episode 3, David says, I guess the case with Officer Simpson shows that the controlled parties will stop once they thought their orders are carried out, be it killing someone or jumping off a roof. Might come in handy later. Interesting idea, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, thanks for that, David. On to episode 4. So again, David gives some feedback about episode 4. It says, I'm betting that the support group would be a case similar to the Orient Express murder. Everyone's story is a bit off to Paro, and then it turns out that everybody was in on the scheme. Where no one's story is really made up, and the discordances are explained by Kilgrave's extra orders to keep people from ever properly identifying him. That's quite an interesting concept. This is all the stories that were being told. Some members went on to the Kilgrave support group. Some members were turned away because they weren't. Their stories didn't seem really like Kilgrave. Interesting idea that actually every one of the stories was correct, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. That would be a really nice twist for that group, actually.
Absolutely.
They were kind of like the cuckoos within the nest.
Interesting. He then goes on to say, the guy who was made give away his expensive suit really made an impression on me. He, of course, gave out the caveat that giving away material property can't really be compared to killing one's parents, but it was still something that he would never have done in his right mind, and that's what's really important. And, of course, he was the person who most certainly met Kilgrave. I think I made that point as well, that was the guy who gave away his really expensive jacket. He's just so frustrated about the fact that someone was able to get him to do that. That that shows the mind control really does have an effect on you, no matter, regardless of what it is. You know, it might be someone telling you, I want your shoes, but the fact that you would take them off your feet and give them to somebody else and not be in control of yourself does feel really creepy, doesn't it? David says, seriously, Netflix should be giving out strobe light warnings to those episodes like NBC did for Hannibal. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of strobes in this show. He says, Trish is so sloppy. She really should have made Simpson open the box in front of the camera to show that there isn't a bomb inside. Very, very good point. She was still quite trusting of Officer Simpson telling him to leave the box outside the door and then bringing it inside the house to her. Yeah. Which turned out it's the gun for her protection. But yeah, interesting. Yeah, she could have easily allowed him to just open it up on camera, couldn't she? So finally, Dave says, Jessica's freak out was so spectacular. I'll bet Matt heard the whole thing from just 2 blocks away. I wonder what he would have said about that. So yeah, Matt Murdoch would pretty much be hearing everything that's going on with Jessica. I'm surprised he hasn't heard just Kilgray's voice shouting out Jessica and wondering to himself, who's this Jessica? He's being
I'm hearing a lot about this girl. I've heard a lot about you. Nice to meet you, Jessica Jones.
But thanks very much for that, Dave. Keep sending the feedback in. It's feedback at defenderstvpodcast.com. We love hearing from you and your thoughts on the episodes as you go on. Or you can follow us over on Twitter at DefendersCast and discuss the episodes with us as we go. We tend not to spoil things over there, obviously, because people are watching the show at a different pace. But importantly, if you want to talk to other fans of the show, some of our regular listeners and some of the people that contribute regularly to the show are on our group on Facebook. All you need to do is search for Defenders TV Podcast. We have a page over there, which is where our news and episodes are published. But you can also join the group, and in there is where we all get together and discuss some interesting stuff across the Marvel cinematic universe and Marvel TV universe. So come and join us on there. It's been lots of fun. We'll be back next week with episode 7 of Jessica Jones. Thank you so much for listening this week.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening.
Cheers, guys. Really appreciate all the feedback as always. Sweet Christmas.
Bye.
I'm off to get a whiskey.